everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about this crazy roommate I had in college. Before I start the story, I'm going to give you a little background information and tell you how I ended up roommating with this girl. For her privacy, we're going to call her Ashley. Ashley isn't her name, and it's not anything close to her name. So I met Ashley when I was in my sophomore year. She was a junior at the time, so she was a year older than me. We had a mutual friend, and that mutual friend kept canceling plans, and we ended up basically hanging out together because of that. So, since we were hanging out just the two of us, we became really fast friends, and really close friends, or so I thought. So, Ashley lived in a house. It wasn't a sorority house, but it was similar. Our college reserved it for a women's club that we were both part of. And she did not really like her roommate, and I lived in just a regular dorm room. And the roommate I had was never around. She was always at her friend's house. So I basically had that place to myself. As Ashley and I got closer, though, things started to really go downhill, and there was a lot of red flags that I ignored at the time because I wanted to keep the friendship. Ashley would start to argue with all our friends, and she wanted me to take her side, and I was pretty stupid back then, so I did. An example of this is one of the arguments she had me get involved in was when one of our mutual friends borrowed one of my DVDs. She wanted to return it, but Ashley didn't like the way she wanted to return it. She wanted to just leave it outside of Ashley's room since they lived in the same house. We were out studying at the time, so she didn't want to walk the entire way across campus to return a DVD. Ashley really didn't like that. Ashley wanted her to walk the entire way across campus. Long story short, when she was sick of arguing, she did walk the entire way across campus. And looking back at that situation, I feel really bad, because there was no reason why she couldn't leave it outside Ashley's room. Ashley just didn't want her to. Here's another example of the petty arguments that she get into. This particular situation didn't involve me at all, but I think it's a good example of the kind of person we're dealing with here. Like I said before, she lived in a house. This house had 5 other people living there. One day, somebody living in that house turned the thermostat way up, so it was super hot. Ashley started an argument with another girl over who did it. To this day, nobody in the house knows who actually did it, but a lot of them suspect it was Ashley. So here's where the story actually starts. Ashley and I decided to room together my junior year. We were both super excited. We texted about it all summer long. And finally, it came time to move in. We got an apartment-style dorm that came with a bedroom, a bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen. And we split up buying the kitchen supplies and toilet paper and other toiletries and stuff evenly. I bought half and she bought half. I ended up moving in first since I was in the marching band, and I always had to come to school a few weeks early before school started. So I had the apartment to myself for about a week or a week and a half. During this time, I texted Ashley pictures and got her all hyped up, and we were ready for her to come and move in. Well, when Ashley actually did move in, I wasn't there. Every year, my college marching band performed at Kennywood. In case you don't know, Kennywood's an amusement park near Pittsburgh. And we always went on the Sunday right before school started. And that also happened to be the Sunday that upperclassmen moved in. When I got home that night, Ashley was asleep. I figured she wanted to be well rested since class started the next day, so I just let her sleep, and eventually I went to sleep myself. The first few weeks went by extremely well. We got along, and we were enjoying ourselves. My younger brother even came to visit campus for a weekend, and we all three had a great time together. Ashley did do a few weird things from time to time, which again should have been red flags, but I was stupid. One of these things was Ashley didn't like to do her own dishes. I wanted to keep the friendship, so I just did them when I did my own. I didn't really have a problem with it. It was no big deal. It was just a little rude. And then one night in particular, she texted me at work saying she was having an emergency. She had medical issues, so I was ready to leave my job and go to help her. But since it was so close to the end of the night, my boss said, "Well, you're only going to be here for another 30 minutes. What could possibly be so wrong that she texted you and didn't call 911? So when I got back to the apartment, her emergency was that the kitchen sink was clogged, but she couldn't be bothered to unclog it by herself because she wouldn't be able to watch The Walking Dead. Then in September, we went home for my birthday, and my family treated her to everything. She didn't have to pay a dime. We went to Pittsburgh and ate at the Hard Rock Cafe, and they even gave us each $5 to gamble at the casino. Everything seemed alright then, and we were getting along. We had a good time. And then in October, we had a mild disagreement at lunch. One of her classes required her to write a 25-page paper by the end of the semester. She would complain about it constantly. And whenever I or somebody else complained about something in one of our classes, she would mockingly say, "I'd rather do that than write a 25-page paper. I understand 25 pages is a lot, but that doesn't mean my classes were any less difficult." Another thing about this 25-page paper is that they made it evidently clear from her freshman year that that class and that paper would be required to graduate. So she could have easily changed her major and not had to write that paper. So I had a class immediately after lunch. So I went straight to that class. Ashley went back to the apartment since she didn't have a class for a few hours. So there was an app out at the time that everyone on campus had. Some people might be familiar with it. It was called Yik Yak. So what Yik Yak is, for people who aren't familiar, you can post an anonymous status and people in your local area and on your college campus would be able to see it, and people could upvote it and they can downvote it, and eventually if it got too many downvotes, it would just disappear. So this app comes into play coming up in this story. So after I finished class, I looked at my phone and I saw a text from Ashley. She was accusing me of posting something on Yik Yak. But I spent the last hour in class, and my professors were very strict. They didn't allow us to have cell phones out at all. They had to be in your pocket or in your backpack. And she knew that too, because it was something I talked about all the time. So she sends me this screenshot of a post on Yik Yak that says something about, "I wish my roommate was more open-minded." She keeps sending, "Why did you say that? What made you say that? What did I do that you think I'm not open-minded?" And I continued to tell her I didn't say this. So we were coming up on midterms, and I didn't have time to deal with this nonsense. So I turned my phone off and went to the library to study. A few hours later, when I turned it back on, she simply texted me that we needed to talk. So I told her I was at my usual space in the library if she wanted to come up. If not, we can talk when I got back to the apartment in a few hours. And she absolutely refused. She wanted me to stop studying and immediately come back to the apartment. I reminded her that midterms were less than a week away, so I wanted to study every chance I got before I went to band practice. So finally it was time for band practice, and I wasn't even at band practice for 10 minutes before I was escorted out by the campus police. I'm sure everybody in the band thought I was a criminal, but in reality Ashley went to the campus police because I refused to come to talk to her. Now Ashley's parents donated to the school, but I didn't think they donated enough. that the campus police would be okay with using their force to force me out of a class because we were graded for band and supervise a roommate meeting. And she had such a bad attitude the entire meeting. So after the police officer let us go, there was only a few minutes of band left, so I skipped out and tried to talk to her because I did care about her and I really wanted to save the friendship, but it seemed she didn't want to talk to me. Now, that was Thursday. On Friday, my college was taking our accounting class to an event in another city. So I told her I would be out all day and asked her if she wanted to get dinner when I came back. She said she was okay with getting dinner, but again, at dinner that night, she was very standoffish and I did most of the talking. That was Friday. Now, normally, she went home on the weekends, but since we had an activity for our club the next day, she did stay on campus. While I was getting ready, I overheard her on the phone with one of her parents talking about her dog passing away. So, when I was on my way out, I just said, "I'm sorry for your loss," and she proceeds to yell and scream and cuss at me about eavesdropping on her conversation. Understandably, because her dog passed away, she left campus for the rest of the weekend. It seemed as though she was gone on Monday, too, because when I left for class, she wasn't there. I didn't see her all day, and I had to work Monday night, so I really wasn't sure if she came back to school yet. We had a place on campus that would stay open late, and they would serve food and snacks, and they even had drinks. So after I got off work, I went up there and got myself some dinner. Some of my other friends were already there. Since I knew Ashley probably didn't want to see me, I stayed and hung out with them. And then we proceeded to go back to the house that Ashley used to live in. And one of my friends said, "Let's take a picture for Instagram." So we did, and we posted that picture. Almost immediately after the picture was posted, I got a text from Ashley. She said, "Oh, I thought you'd be back by now, but I'm moving out." That's when I left my friends and walked literally right across the street to go and talk to her because I was still at the point where I wanted to save this friendship. But she was pretending to be asleep. So I just went to bed. Her moving out was an issue in and of itself. I told her that I would help her move out. Well, she refused. She decided that she wanted one of her other friends from high school to help her move out. I told her that's fine, but I would just like to be there because I don't feel comfortable with someone that I don't know coming into my apartment where my valuable things are without me being there. Ashley went completely behind my back and did this anyhow. When I came home one day, all of her stuff was just gone. Luckily, it seemed as though all of my stuff was still where I left it. Well, that was my college roommate horror story. I know it wasn't as bad as some of those stories we hear on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed it anyhow. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Bye!